Very warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Steve?
Yes.
Tomorrow we're at Twickenham, aren't we? The TMO fella.
Yes.
The man with the point. You realise what happened the following week, don't you? There was a South African in the TMO with the All Black game. I think it suddenly went in a different direction. Don't mess with the box, man. May, ladies and gentlemen, indulge me for a second. 2 weeks ago, one of the gentlemen said, "Where have you been?" Well, a couple of weeks ago, I was with a colleague of mine, Colin McCorkadale. We were in Latvia, amongst others. We were there for the World Roofing Championships for young roofers. Young roofer in world terms is under the age of 28. And in all types of roofing, so pitched, flat, cladding. I've missed one. Fully supported metal, I think was correct. Sorry, I've forgotten another one. So we got a team together. We've been training for quite some time in 2 disciplines. And also as part of this conference, I was asked to speak on the Friday afternoon, the usual sort of graveyard slot. However, it was all about a common challenge across our whole industry, wherever we might be, about attracting, in fact, the title was Attracting New Talents. But I changed it slightly to the singular. Now, talent, if you go to the definition, there's quite a few, quite a broad basis of definition of the word talent. I'm just going to concentrate on one of them. And that was from the point of view of natural ability. So, just for one participative moment, could I ask, in terms of everybody in this room, how many came to roofing, firstly, by design? So in other words, it was a career of first choice. In this room, anybody who came to roofing? Thank you, sir. Thanks, Graham. And I asked the same question at this event in Latvia. And it was a little bit more. I think Colin was probably about 30, 70. So just for a moment, I then said, well, how did I come to this industry? And Steve's kind of alluded to where I was brought up. Now, as a child, I thought I had a talent. Promise you, Stephen, I won't break that. For that, I thought football was my game. And then I got a bit older and I thought rugby. Because in Africa, there were 4 words in English that most South Africans knew. And that was, I'm going to show my age. 4 words of English were Bobby Charlton and Manchester United. Regrettably, I didn't have that talent, but I kind of had a reasonable talent for that. Well, these days, it's all of this, isn't it? It's 2020. And as a teenager, I got to a reasonable standard until other things in my life came into prominence. So, how does this lead into what I thought was talent as to how did I end up in this industry? Well, I came into this industry through the route of a degree in business economics, then into the motor industry, and through that into the metals industry. And through metal, we ended up a corporate company of owning a roofing company. Not because we wanted to own it, because suddenly they owed us so much money, we either shut it down or we did something with it. So it was accidental. But coming into that industry, dare I say it, more years than I would care to remember. I've been in it ever since, and I love this industry. I am passionate about this industry, and I know many around this, long-standing relationships with many in this room, and it's all a kindred spirit of our passion and love for this industry. Never, ever forget that, the importance of that. So, back to Riga for a second. So, young men, this is the pitched competition, as you can tell. And I'm just going to point out for a second, starting with the gentleman in the middle. He was the mentor. So training, intensive training, all done in Northern Ireland, with two young men who have a history of being in this industry through family dynasty. So that route of career of first choice. And I'm delighted to say that that team, and they had some challenges. Their tools were delayed by, I think, DHL. So they were starting sort of behind the curve. They won the President's Prize at these World Champs. Now, for a second, that's the other side of it. This is then the waterproofing. So, and this was the final part of the competition, which was a freestyle design, which was done on the Friday. And I'm going to specifically point out one gentleman in a minute, but the three of them, the gentleman standing behind, or kneeling behind, the youngest ever mentor for the World Champs, Jordan. Jordan is 24, the youngest of any of the participants in mentoring. Passion, pride for what they were doing, superb. Jacob, if you're looking in on the right-hand side, from County Roofing, and Andrew from Briggs & Masco. And for one moment, I'm going to concentrate on Andrew. Now, Andrew was working, we had a long chat with all of these gentlemen. Andrew was working for a well-known supermarket, beginning with A and ending in A, as a security guard 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago, earning a certain amount of money and not particularly enjoying it. And he came across opportunity of a specialist apprenticeship. In this case, it was I think it was single ply. He's now ended up 6 weeks beforehand. He didn't know he was going to this competition. He ended up the pride of representing Team GB at a world event. He's passionate about standards, about quality, his determination, this whole team about winning just was so obvious, the determination to succeed. He has a career. I asked them all, how do you see your careers developing in this industry? It would not be appropriate for me to say specifically. It would be up, in terms of the companies that they are employed by. But they all have aspirations. Some have aspirations in terms of the contracting side. Some have aspirations indeed of potentially being in your community. But all have aspirations. And it's crucial that we can help them to achieve those aspirations. So the next stage of this, and I will just emphasize for 1 second, because we've heard the B word once. The B word circulated at this event. The judging did have a feeling of Eurovision about it. In our opinion, you start with the waterproofing, we were certainly in the top three. The Austrians, the Germans, the Swiss were in the top three of most categories. I'm not going to say any more. However, next time the competition takes place, it is in Beijing. The international side of this organization is starting to open up. And we are determined, our representatives will go to Beijing with the same determination that these fellows had to win. We all got on a plane after the conclusion of said event. We went to the celebratory dinner. They all kept their heads up when the announcement of the winners happened. And the determination to carry on, to continue, to ensure that we are there in a winning capacity in 2 years' time was evident. There was no sort of, moaning, groaning. No, we go again. So important that this recognition of this determination is fulfilled. So the emphasis of pride, of representing country, of team spirit, of engagement with other young people. I forgot to mention that. Very good synergy with, young people all together in the spirit of trying to improve things and help each other to a degree. The gratitude of these young men for all my team who put hours of work into getting these fellas to Riga. And, you know, as I say, they could quite easily and quite really say, oh, goodness me, we haven't won anything. And the kind of blame game starts. The contrary. Determination to win next time and willingness to encourage others. What does that mean? I've spoken to two of those gentlemen. Will you come with us as ambassadors at colleges or at schools in the sense that we obviously would do, say, a Q&A, but, you know, relating to each other. How can a young person relate to someone like me? You know, I don't do Facebook. I'm that bad. So we must encourage this spirit. Now, that leads me on to, and taking it further from what Stephen has said, this thing of professionalization. This crucial, which is the singular word within the NFRC team. It's about professionalizing ourselves, our members, and supporting the overall built environment to that overall objective that we all aspire to. Now that requires, we hear a lot about behavioral change. That's an easy word to say. But it needs a willingness to do so to start with. It needs an openness of approach. Honesty. Sometimes you've got to be honest. If something isn't working, let's not hide. Let's be open about it. Determination is obvious. Forgiveness. We don't always get it right. They agree to disagree. And absolutely the word I'll repeat that Stephen has said, like-mindedness. It must overcome self-interest, pomposity, egos, and grandstanding. So the catalyst for all of this, you've heard the name, this Project RoofCert. This project of starting the road of professionalizing our industry, starting with the most important of all, and that's the gentlemen and increasingly one hopes ladies who actually put the roofs together. You know, in a safe, measured environment, an environment where we can continually help to encourage their professional development, to ensure that they are recognized for that professionalism. And the basis of doing that is to recognize existing qualifications, but to build on them. So the roots of NVQs, for instance, are very much at the center of what we're referring to here, but it's adding to. An NVQ is a point in time. So the process of accreditation for us starts next year. It starts on the 1st of April. So our team have been working very busily on creating the accreditation standard, which has to reflect all the different genres. It's not in one bucket. It's not one accreditation. It's accreditation for pitched roofing, waterproofing, fully supported, etc. It's like the gas fitter who's got the qualification to do the various elements that you can go on the gas website and see. So that standard has to be reflected not only, as I've just said, in terms of rigorous examination, but continuous development and to be held to be account. Because there are too many schemes out there that never kick anybody out, never do anything about it. And the gas industry has been held up recently in that regard. So the government is very strong in saying to us, we'll help to support your scheme, but we want to know what the stick is as well. And by doing so, we've got to have an imperative. And clearly that has to be the clients. What do we mean by client? So in obvious terms, it's got to be the builders, the commercial builders. It's got to be their clients, the property owners. It's got to be the local authorities. And clearly and ultimately, it's got to be the consumer, or as referred to in NFRC for some reason, the code name is Mrs. Miggins. Crucial if this scheme is going to work. And that is a balancing act, because on the one hand, you've got to get the product right. On the other hand, to ensure that you've got all the support is that you're starting to get that buy-in. And so we'll be doing a launch next year of the scheme, and that is with a major property developer who's agreed to support the scheme. At the same time, the scheme will be an absolute fundamental requirement of the Competent Person Scheme. The MTC approach is crucial, and it's an obvious connection. So clearly we see that we're the start of this long-term transformation. And shortly you'll be hearing from Susanna, if I'm about to get a ball kicked at me for being over my time, Susanna Nicol, Chief Exec of Build UK. And recently our board encouraged me to stand for directorship Build UK. And I was very pleased to be accepted. Thank you to those who voted for me at Build UK. And I recently attended a first board meeting. And we're very supportive of all the change, and you'll hear, no doubt, from Susanna in a minute in that regard. And very much understanding the strategic side of what Build UK is trying to achieve. It's a major task, and it needs bravery again. It goes back to my word, those words I've said before. This is not the old oil and water scenario of specialists and main contractors. If we're going to do that, sorry, bye-bye. We've got to change that approach. We clearly, though, the other side of what we're doing, we hope that the likes of all the members of Build UK will support this professionalisation that we are set out on the road to deliver. But we're not asking for sort of a blanket support. We're after tangible evidence of what we're doing is actually going to produce a benefit. So clearly the benefit has to be that using accredited roofers provides assurance, security, and I go back to that very important point of comeback. Because through that process, we will have less defects of roofs. We'll have higher productivity in terms of some measurable things. Not this sort of, oh, well, we're going to have this. No, we want it, and we're going to put in place means to analyse, to show that continuous improvement. So, to the second part of, I had very broad terms of reference for today. So this International Roofing Conference next year is going to be in Edinburgh. The NFRC will be hosting. It's on and please get this in your diaries as soon as, it's from the 25th to the 28th of September. And this is the opportunity for the UK to showcase itself. And we all know, and the dreaded B word again, how important it will be for our country and indeed for our industry. This provides us with a fantastic platform. All the federations from around the world and other interested parties will be coming to Edinburgh. And apart from the conference and all the lovely things of Edinburgh Castle and no doubt Holyrood and everything else, there'll be a proper programme of real good substance of presentations that we want to put out to the international community. And also, there will be a roofing showcase exhibition. So promoting the best of products made in the UK, or not necessarily made in the UK, but have a strong UK emphasis. So I urge you to consider coming to that and marking that down now. The other side of that, this international link and the importance of it, has been very much more direct communication and contact. So for starters, we hosted this year the President, Chief Executive and President-elect of the largest roofing federation in the world, which is the National Roofing Contractors Association of the USA. Their chief exec, I've got a long way to go maybe, he's a former congressman. He went with Barack Obama. His name is Reed Ribble, gentleman in the middle next to our president, a tall gentleman, Steve Revel, to his right, in the lighter blue. In fact, it's an NRCA jacket. It's got if you open it up, typically American. Reed we had a 2-day get-together. We covered a ton of ground. We're going back to America next year, where we'll also be inviting the Canadians. There's a ton of areas of standards, of products, innovation, etc., that we want to continue to develop. What are they interested from us? Training. Training. Please, a member here, Jane and Phil, were very kind to host a visit from the NRCA. And the other was, during this year, we've had a very large delegation from China here. And well known in the industry, and I know indeed still associated with the BMI group, is Dr. Bill Chan. I think Bill is now 92, I believe. Gentleman in the middle, for obvious reason. He helped to facilitate that visit. And what has been the outcome of that? I'm going to come to why. I was given this some time ago. I'm ready to put it in the fire somewhere, but that's just personal opinion. Our friend Mr. Trump has stirred things up from the point of view of relationships with regard to the largest construction economy in the world. China is the largest construction economy in the world. China wants your products, our contractors' expertise, to help that market fulfill its potential. Now, we all know the other side of things like that, about reverse engineering and product type. Please, we fully understand that. But they have a shopping list of products that they want. And they sat down with Steve, our president, and myself recently, and they went through a shopping list of products and services thereafter. We are keen to take this up with government, and we're quite happy to put together a trade delegation supported by government to go to China. And why that picture of that gentleman? He is Mr. Roofing China. I met him in Latvia. On his phone, he had all our pictures of the delegation that came to UK. Didn't speak much English, so we smiled a lot and shook hands. But that's he's Mr. Roofing China. And we know how structured things are in markets like that with regard to governments. And I'm going to leave you on this note. We've heard a lot about the B word and the importance of Brexit for you as suppliers is massive at the moment in one sense, because it's this uncertainty. It's the same for contractors. What does uncertainty create? Well, in terms of, I hear Mark Carney this morning, and he was saying about contingency, and we all know the way things are going. We're going to need more contingency time. How does that affect you on a day-to-day basis? Confidence in the market must be top of the list. If you're trading, which I'm sure the majority of you are, you've got foreign exchange, that must be way top of your list. Logistics, distribution, you name it. It must be a nightmare currently, compounded by the Hackett Review. And we've got all the issues associated with the C word, combustibility. We've got all the matters now of working groups that our committee, suppliers committee, we are very strong in our approach. We've got to get back to that working group about standards of products, competency of suppliers, staff, training, claims of products. This is all under very close scrutiny at the moment, and it's very important that we have a collective position that we can take back to government and to bodies such as the Construction Products Association. Very, very important. There's areas that concern us at the moment, that there's leaching of things going on. We need to, frankly, from all our sakes, we need to really nail that down. But to do so, I believe we've got to look at those behaviours I've discussed earlier. Crucial. There's a body for cartoonists. There's a trade body for everything. So the Cartoon Association, alongside Elwood Atfield, had their annual awards on Tuesday night. So I leave you with that. That was the winner. I hope it hasn't offended anybody. And one is politically, that was in the Times, by the way. I never knew the Times was allowed to have the F word in any form of association. So my conclusion from the point of view of myself and my team, so the word attracting was where we started. Hopefully the legacy by the time we've moved on is that we've attracted new talent as part of our professionalism approach. Thank you very much.